Has Indianapolis Colts general manager Chris Ballard redeemed himself after quite an interesting draft class? So you go through PFF, the Goat House, Broshimo, YouTube channels / football analysts. They all grade the Colts draft class very highly. A lot of people love this Colts draft class, and it's a lot of hit or miss, honestly, with this class. A lot of high upside, high athletic ability. There's a lot to love, but you look through Chris Ballard's drafts, and you see a lot of his players have very hard RAS scores, which is your athletic ability, very high. And a lot of them, it's boom or bust. A lot of them either turn out really good or, 80% of them just don't. And honestly, to give you my personal opinion, after my emotions have settled down after the draft, for being excited for Anthony Richardson, to taking Darius Rush late in the round, taking that W defensive tackle from Northwestern, Julius Brents, Josh Downs. There's so much to get excited about, but you know what? At some point, you need to sit back and you need to ask yourself, is Chris Ballard really the general manager that's going to bring this Colts team to the promised land? And I seriously doubt it at times. Now, I love what he does. I love his personality. I kind of love who he is as a person. I like who he is, and I like what he's got and what he tries to do. And I get it, and I get his philosophy. I get where he's coming from. But at the end of the day, you have to spend some money in free agency. You have to sometimes stay where you're at, maybe move up in the draft and take the guy that's better, that's good. Sometimes it may seem like Chris Ballard kind of gets in his own ways, and it's like, is he doing it because he thinks and he has to do it his way? I don't necessarily think so all the way, because he just signed, they just drafted Josh Downs, right? Josh Downs, very smart receiver, not the typical receiver that Chris Ballard likes to draft. So maybe he's learning and he's listening to maybe Shane Steichen. Maybe he's just trying to change things up a little bit. So we all know that Chris Ballard is pretty good at drafting. Pretty good, right? He just makes some questionable decisions at times. He has drafted guys in the name of Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, when Darius Leonard was great as an F. Everyone thought that was a horrible pick. Leonard came in the league and he proved everyone wrong. Zaire Franklin was in the late rounds. There's another Syracuse guy we had. We had Matthew Adams come in, who was a good guy. And he does really well finding undrafted free agents. But it hasn't been enough. Have these players have been consistent? Have all these players have been consistent? We've signed. Yeah, I believe Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins were drafted in the same draft class as well. So it just shows that he had one incredible draft class, and he had a few pretty damn good ones so far. Okay, I'm not discrediting that he's a horrible at drafting. It's just sometimes it seems like he gets in his own ways at times. Now, like I said, I love what he has done, and I like some of the things that he does, but some of the things that kind of overrides it. Like, a big question mark I have, okay, Quentin Nelson. I'm not saying he's not worth good money. I'm not saying he's not worth big money, but if you're going to pay a guard $20 million a year, if you're going to pay Quentin Nelson $20 million a year, you should move him out to left tackle because it's much more valuable. It's not as valuable when it's a guard, when you could find a solid guard in post-draft signings like UDFAs. You could find solid guards in mid to late rounds. Quentin Nelson is a generational talent, okay? I get that. They don't grow on trees. You don't find generational talents anywhere. It doesn't matter what position. But does signing a guard to $20 million per year or signing a tackle to $20 million per year, which one would you do? Which one do you think will give you a better chance of making a championship run? If you ask me, I'm gonna give the tackle the money. I'm gonna give a tackle $20 million a year. Now, I'm not saying Quentin Nelson isn't worth it. I'm not saying that he's not good. I'm saying that you need to step back and realize what positions are most important, because it seems like he always hits big on the positions that aren't as important. He's great at drafting linebackers. He's great at finding some defensive line talent. Guys that are great in the run defense side of things. But then you go to the offensive line, and you kind of make the same case about that, but you need offensive linemen who can not only run block but pass block. This offensive line is not the greatest of pass blockers. They're okay pass blockers. Ryan Kelly's inconsistent. Quentin Nelson's great at both. He is probably the best in the league at both. If not, he's towards the top. He's close to the top. Braden Smith's actually good. I actually really like Braden Smith, but we paid $18 million to Braden Smith, $17 or $18 million, and he's a right tackle. Don't get me wrong, right tackle is very important, but left tackle is even more important. Left tackle is much more important, in my opinion, than right tackle. I mean, it depends. You have a lefty or righty, but honestly, now that we have a guy like Anthony Richardson, both are probably just as good, because he's gonna scramble out to the right, to the left, whatever. And then Darius Leonard, okay. The amount of turnovers he forces, just the impact that he has on games, he is absolutely worth generational money. He is absolutely worth $20 million a year. The thing that bothers me with paying Darius Leonard that much is he's never played a full season in the NFL. He's always been dinged up. He's a smaller linebacker. And I love his character. I absolutely love who he is. If there was one player in the Colts I'd love to go and sit down and just talk to and chop it up, Darius Leonard would absolutely be one of them. If you want someone by your side to really do what you want to do, you need something big done, Darius Leonard's that guy. And you want Darius Leonard on your side. But when it comes to football, it's a business, right? And that's where it's kind of like, I know Darius Leonard's worth a lot of money when healthy. I know that's one of the more difficult topics for me, because I absolutely love Darius Leonard. And some players you just love, whether they're great people, great characters, great work ethics, and, they're solid players as well. But when you're running a business, when you have a football team in one of the biggest sports entertainment leagues around the world, you have to come to your senses and be, has Darius Leonard been healthy enough to give him $20 million a year for 4 years? He is absolutely worth it if he stayed healthy, if he could stay healthy. Leonard is one of those rare cases where a non-premium position, he makes it premium. Not many could do that. It's very rare to have a linebacker be worth premium money. Darius Leonard absolutely is. Very few linebackers, very few non-premium talents. I'd rather pay Darius Leonard $20 million than Quentin Nelson. I love Quentin Nelson. He's a great character as well. He's a great person. He's a great player, but I feel like causing turnovers on defense, a player like Darius Leonard is good on the passing game as well, just blitzing. You ask Darius Leonard to do anything, he could do anything. I'd rather turnovers on defense, a turnover machine that's much harder to find than a solid left guard or a solid guard. Honestly, if you get what I'm saying, let me know what you think about, paying Darius Leonard $20 million a year, because taking the character out of it, okay? Because character, you love the guy no matter what. But when you're in the NFL, that does help. And, I like to say, and I've said this very often, talent determines your floor. Your character determines your ceiling. And Darius Leonard's ceiling is, there's no stop. It goes and goes and goes. It's not, when you have injuries and when you play for one of the biggest sports leagues in the world, you kind of have to ask yourself, is he worth $20 million a year? Without the injuries, absolutely. With them, I would have paid him a little less. That's just the cold hard truth about the NFL. It's a business, right? And that's where Chris Ballard also has to work on. if you're going to pay Quentin Nelson I'm not talking down any players. I just want you to know, all of you guys know, I'm not talking down any players. I'm just stating my opinion in the way football teams are probably meant to be built, where we see premium versus non-premium positions, right? I'm not saying this is how Chris Ballard needs to run a team. I'm just saying, if there's a premium talent out there at a premium position, a top 5 player, you go and pay him premium money. You don't pay a non-premium player premium money if there's a premium player that you could pick over the non-premium player. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like I already said, I'm not talking down any of these players. Quentin Nelson, generational. Darius Leonard, generational. Wide receivers, Chris Ballard has not been the best with wide receivers, and it seems like he changed a little bit by drafting a smaller guy with better route running, good hands. Not, the most athletic ever, but he's still pretty damn athletic and pretty damn good. Doesn't run crazy fast, but you catch the ball, he wins contested catches, he's going to get you first downs on third downs. Sometimes, and he also likes to say, credit to Coltsology for this one, another great Colts YouTube channel. Go check him out. I will put the link in the description. He said that Chris Ballard keeps on saying players take 2 to 3 years to develop. You got to give these guys time. I get that, right? I get it. But he has drafted many guys in some of these premium positions. They haven't worked out. Quincy Wilson's one is just one of many, many, many. Paris Campbell's a little different. He had a lot of injuries. But if you know someone has a lot of injuries, you kind of need to try and address it right away. Sometimes Chris Ballard, like Danny Pinner, is one of them. He tried focusing on Danny Pinner. Oh, this kid needs time. He's young. Danny Pinner is just horrible. Yet he let go Mark Lewinsky and Chris Reed. Horrible decision. Horrible decision on all ends. I should have at least retained one of those guys. Mark Lewinsky went to the Giants, had a pretty damn good year. Chris Reed went to the Vikings, had a pretty damn good year. And we're stuck without a right guard with the crappy Danny Pinner. Now, look, when I'm calling players crappy, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just talking in the football terms of business. It's business, man. And Danny Pinner was horrible. He's not a viable option at right guard. Now, Danny Pinner as a backup center, he was okay. Will Fries, he's not the answer. Matt Pryor, I never want to see that guy in a Colts uniform again. He signed with the 49ers. If there's any team that could get great play out of him, it's the Niners. Somehow he had I can't believe I'm going to say this. He had an elite stretch at right tackle when Braden Smith was hurt. Not last year, the year before with Carson Wentz. He had an elite stretch. Didn't last long. Moved the guard. We tried him at left tackle before starting Bernhard Raimann. Didn't work out. Danny Pinner wasn't right guard, so maybe we throw the bigger body in there. It's a little stronger. Matt Pryor at right guard. Didn't work out. You just sat him. After didn't work out right guard, he just saw the bench where he belonged. Then you had Will Fries. Will Fries just isn't the guy to start. Maybe he could be an okay backup, an average backup. Not a starter. And that's why I like Emilio, Ocore, the guard from Bama. He's going to be an incredible guard. He's very good. He was projected to be picked in the 4th round. He's a lot of strength, good feet, good pass blocker, good run blocker. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to be a phenomenal guard for this team. I think we have a right guard with him. Now Bernhard Raimann, he's a bit of a question. You're going to have Blake Freeland coming in, seeing what he's going to do there. But my question from the beginning of the video: did Chris Ballard redeem himself? No. I'm not giving. And I know at first I'm like, I think Chris Ballard's here to stay for a long time. He did a phenomenal job with this draft. And shout out to someone in the comments. He said that, the grades, you could grade it there in that moment and say, yeah, that's a great fit. Yeah, that's a great player. Until they hit the field, the grade just doesn't mean anything at all. The grade doesn't mean anything until you see them play on the field, play in the pros. And I absolutely get Chris Ballard's philosophy behind it. It takes a year or two. It takes a couple of years for quarterbacks to, for some guys to learn at cornerback, at quarterback. If there's any position you're really going to be patient with, it's quarterback and cornerback as well. Those are two positions you have to be willing to take on, and left tackle, 3 positions. Edge rusher you could probably throw in there. So some players do need to play and get experience, and they get better year by year, and they need the time. Sometimes they need to play bad. They need those learning pains. But do you guys think that Chris Ballard has redeemed himself? I think he needs to spend more in free agency at times. I think he's a little too scared to spend premium money on premium positions. And, also another thing is he wants to keep his guys. He wants to keep them. He wants to make sure they stay. Paid them the big money, which I think that's good for the locker room. But sometimes you have to step back and ask yourself, Quentin Nelson, a guard, and an injury-prone linebacker. I'm not talking crap on the players. For another time, I'm just not. I love the players. I love who they are. It's just a concept of Chris Ballard being willing to pay premium money to non-premium positions, but won't pay that premium money to premium positions. That's where it, kind of the questions arise where it's like, why would you pay Quentin Nelson $20 million, but you wouldn't pay Trent Williams $20 million? Or Trent Williams was like $22, $23 million. $3 more million for the best left tackle in the game. One of the best left tackles in the game. So, I want you guys to let me know what you think about the situation. What do you guys think about Chris Ballard? Leave paragraphs. I'll read the whole damn paragraph, I promise. Paragraphs, I'll read the whole essay. Because I really want to hear you guys' thoughts on Chris Ballard and has he redeemed himself? What is it going to take for him to redeem himself? Like I said, these grades they mean jack squat until we see them on the field. We want to see them in those preseason games to see where they're at. Preseason is very important. Preseasons, if you love football, you love seeing these young guys come in the league, you love preseason because that's when these guys get a chance. That's when some guys get a chance that they'll never get again. And some of these younger guys, they get the chance to get some experience out there before the season even starts, before it really matters. They get a chance to get some tape and live action. Very important. Preseason is vital, so damn important to these young players. And players are just trying to make something out of nothing. So, I want you guys to let me know what you think about this. Do you guys think Chris Ballard has redeemed himself with this draft class? I don't think so, not yet. He's still got a lot to prove, but I want you guys to let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe to the post notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. This is JDW SportsTalkShow, signing off.